My name is Jenna Warwick. I'm ACMI's First Nation Curator. I'm a literature woman and my people come from the Central Desert region of Australia, although I grew up in Queensland. I'm here to talk about Indigenous representation on screen and its long history. So I'm standing here within the Australian section of ACMI's permanent exhibition, The Story of the Moving Image, and I'd like to start by acknowledging that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have always been a part of Australian screen stories. In fact, some of the earliest moving images ever filmed in Australia were part of an ethnographic study filmed in the Torres Strait in 1889. These ethnographic films were part of an anthropological study conducted by Cambridge University and later companies like Kodak. Thus were the beginning of our depictions on screen. So it's important to note that from the very beginning, First Nations people have been a part of Australian film and television history, although now we are more than just the subject. We are the creators too. This section, Our Stories, Our Way, within our museum, details a little bit about the history of film, television, and Indigenous representation. So we begin here with Bill Onus in the 1940s. Bill was a Yorta Yorta man. His country is on the border of New South Wales and Victoria, and includes the town of Shepparton. Bill's legacy is significant, but he was only recently credited as being one of the first Indigenous filmmakers in Australia. Bill created a silent film in 1946, and though his work has been lost in large part due to degradation, supporting material has survived. Through these surviving fragments of film and photographs, we are able to see that some of what he was actually shooting was ceremony. Moving on from the 1940s to the 1970s, this revolutionary time really marked the start of self-representation as a prominent part of Australian screen culture. As more and more mob were moving to urban areas and cities in search of better opportunity, treatment and camaraderie, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders from different nations across the country were interacting, igniting political conversations and eventually creative outputs. Kooris, Murris, Noongars and all different mobs were sharing their experiences and struggles. It was the 70s that marked a more unified political voice for blackfellas. In Redfern, Sydney, the political discourse was influenced by the American Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power movement. This saw the birth of the National Black Theatre, with Bob Mazza joining forces with Paul Coe and others to produce plays from an Aboriginal perspective. It was this theatre company that really instigated Basically Black. Basically Black was a skit show that offered political commentary on black issues, created in 1973. The pilot episode was broadcast once in July of that year, before the series was cancelled, featuring an Indigenous cast including Bob Mazza, Gary Foley, Eileen Corpus, Zach Martin and Bindi Williams. Basically Black was seen as too edgy and too political for the time, basically too black. Even though the pilot episode screened on Australian television only once, Basically Black laid the groundwork for future generations. You can see its legacy today with shows like the ABC skit series Black Comedy. But these urban Aboriginal stories weren't the only self-representation taking place on screens in the 1970s. On the Central Coast, there was Essie Coffey, a Murri woman who was the first Aboriginal woman to make a documentary. Essie was known as the Queen of Dodge City and the Bush Queen of Brewarrina. Essie's career and legacy cannot be underscored enough. On top of being a filmmaker, she started her own Aboriginal legal service in her community, Dodge City. Like many government-ran missions, Dodge City continued on after government involvement and policy changed. Mob continued living in their community, and although originally shaped by government oppression and racist policy, they remained a poignant location of identity and pride. Unless you're from the mission or have reasons to go there, wider Australia turned a blind eye. If you didn't live there, you wouldn't know what it was like, the beauty and the brutal hardships. So her documentary, My Survival as an Aboriginal, was an eye-opening witness to the experiences of Aboriginal people's resilience and the importance of practicing culture. It's an honest portrayal of how a black woman held her community together. The different Aboriginal experiences explored in Basically Black and My Survival as an Aboriginal created a larger picture of self-representation. With over 250 distinct language groups, we have many diverse viewpoints and experiences. And it's important to acknowledge these within the story of First Peoples representation. With the introduction of Australia's first national satellite system in 1981, national broadcasts reached even the most remote regions of the nation, including TV screens of the Central Desert. This was often the first time that Aboriginal families in these communities could watch and hear stories from around the country. Stories that were made about us, though often not made by us. As previously touched on, ethnographic films had shaped paternalistic depictions of us, and seeing these images on country instigated the need for change. This new media context also brought about a unique challenge in that the programming was predominantly in English, broadcast into spaces where English was often the second, third, or even fourth language spoken. It soon became apparent if there was not a change to produce film and television in Aboriginal language, culture and language could come under threat of being lost. So Indigenous media companies like the Central Australian Aboriginal Media Association, or CAMA, which formed Imparja Television, took hold and began producing television in a range of Aboriginal languages. Though based predominantly in Central Australia, they began to broadcast throughout remote parts of Australia. We might look at NITV as having its beginnings in that need to retain our language, our culture, and our modes of storytelling. The work these companies produced really underscores the importance of ongoing representation from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives in Australia. And here within the museum context, it's really important that we continue to champion new stories, which is why we have a range of different commissioned projects, including this display titled How We Tell Our Stories. How We Tell Our Stories began as a very loose prompt for First Nations creators to share their individual stories on film. The various works detail the different ways we tell our stories and the diversity of our cultures. Here in the Australian section of our permanent exhibition, we are surrounded by John Harvey's beautiful multi-channeled work, Canopy, commissioned by ACMI. John Harvey is a well-known Torres Strait Islander filmmaker based in southeast Queensland, and this work is in part a response to those ethnographic depictions of his people mentioned previously. This work is made up of footage of his family shot around southeast Queensland. It's his own reflection, it's his own understanding of what it is to be a Torres Strait Islander, and directly talks back to those ethnographic depictions, where we were looked upon, where we were studied because we were seen as a dying race. Harvey's work sits as a deeply relational and emotional work that challenges such racist legacies and myths. So having the Australian section of our exhibition wrapped in John Harvey's work serves as a testament to the importance of representation. It acknowledges that within the history of Australian film and television, we have always been here. As the original storytellers of this land and one of the most documented people in the world, the moving image legacy of this country and First Peoples are forever entangled. Our stories and how they are told are at the heart of Australian broadcasting and moving image stories.
Come on, black children, come on, black children. A new day of learning is here for you, is here for me. Come on, black children, come on, black children. A new day of learning is here for you, is here for me. Come on, black children, come on, black children. Learn about your history. Black wisdom is no mystery.